Good afternoon, everybody. We're going to be talking about the large language models and our TMCC AI server that is hosted on site here at TMCC. Today, I'm joined by Tanner Sims and Anthony Coots. So one of the big concerns with generative AI use is data privacy and security. Our AI server is only accessible to employees that are on our network, physically connected. If you would like to interact with our server from home or via wireless on your laptop, you must connect to the VPN first, just as you would if you were trying to access your home drive or your department desk drive. And if you have any questions about that process, please get in contact with IT customer service. So, putting data into an AI server. We always counsel people never put anything into AI because it'll get used for training. It could be appearing on the internet. It could become the response to someone else's session. With our server, which is located in-house at the Redfield campus, our server is not connected to the internet, so that's not an issue. There is no training of the models that occurs on our server, so you can go ahead and you can use PII, you can use FERPA protected data or HIPAA protected data in your prompt sessions to provide you with the information that you're trying to work with. This data doesn't go any further than your prompt session. It isn't anything that's available to anyone else that's utilizing the AI server. It's only available in your prompt session. In regards to ethical considerations for staff, as well as faculty, we now have some published guidelines. The staff guidelines are on our AI Hub website. That's ai.tmcc.edu. On that page, you can access faculty and staff specific information. The faculty guidelines, I believe, have had their final approval in Faculty Senate, so we should see them being posted pretty quickly here. So people, one of the things that we have gotten some feedback on is why doesn't our AI server know more about TMCC specifically? Or how come I can't get the weather this week in Reno? Again, we're not connected to the internet. Our models are based on their training data. And the current cutoff for the training data on our models is around October of 2023. If you do need to be working with more current or specific information, then you should be taking advantage of RAG, which Anthony will be discussing shortly. And this is where you provide a document containing specific information that you want to be your source of truth during your prompt session. And Anthony will go over that in a little while here. Like I said, while our server is on our network, it cannot directly interact with our network or resources, but you can upload a file from your desktop to the server to interact with. And now we're going to let Tanner talk about prompting.
Hello, everyone. I'm Tanner, one of the database administrators here. And one of the common things that we see that people do whenever they first start interacting with an AI model is they tend to use Google-like prompts in order to start interacting with the AI. For instance, what's the weather like today? Latest updates on AI regulation in the EU, etc. And we want you guys to avoid that because interacting with an AI model is a lot more nuanced and you can get a lot more depth and detail out of the prompt the more detailed your input is. So we want to avoid things like what the weather is like today, because the AI simply isn't going to know the answer on the TMCC campus. Same thing with updates on AI regulation in the EU. That information is going to be horribly out of date by a factor of 2 years or so. And avoid little prompts like enhance this document, because it's likely not going to be acceptable, because the AI is going to be asking itself, enhance what? Do what? So when you give it more detailed instruction, the better the output's going to be. So with that, we like to talk about a little concept called prompt engineering, which is how you can construct your prompts in order for it to be better constructed and give you a better output. The specific parts of the prompt engineering that we have identified that are key are things like context, where you supply background information or scenarios to guide the LLM's journey through its neural network. Instruction using action verbs like explain, describe, or list are very, very powerful with an AI tool. Letting it know the desired output format that you have. You want a step-by-step guide, a bulleted list, or a summarized paragraph, etc. You also want to specify your audience, because that will heavily dictate how the output is going to come out. So if you want the response to be intended for students, state that. If you want it to be for a peer colleague, make sure you state that. Because I will tell you, and you can see it whenever you interact with the AI, that will heavily change the output. And the final keynote that we like to tell everyone is tone. Formal, whimsical, professional, inspirational, friendly. That also has a heavy impact on the output. And now we're going to go ahead and go over some of the user interface components in the TMCC AI server. So you can reach the TMCC AI server, provided you are on the VPN or right here on campus, through tmccai.tmcc.edu. And I'm going to go ahead and get us over to that window. So this is what you should be seeing the first time that you log into the TMCC AI server. And there's a lot of stuff going on here. So we're going to go ahead and guide you through some of this user interface to make it not so intimidating. The first thing that I recommend people doing is hitting the button right up here in the top left so that we can expand the left sidebar here. All of these that I'm mousing over are your chats, your previous chat history. A cool feature about this is you can organize your chats into folders so that you can become a bit more organized rather than just scrolling through a very long list of historical chats. Inside these chats, you have a few options. You can pin them to the top in order for easy access at a later date. You can rename them. You can even clone them to have a slightly different experience. Archive is not delete. If you archive something, it will maintain that file until you unarchive it. Once you delete a chat from the TMCC AI server, it's gone. You can also share chats with your colleagues here on campus. Do keep in mind that your colleagues will need to be connected to the VPN or on the TMCC campus and must be an active faculty or staff member. And lastly, that delete button right there. The next thing that I want to show you guys is where you can select different models. So the default model is the writing assistant, and that's the one we're going to be doing today for our exercise. But I did want to talk about some of the other models here. We've got document interaction, which its specialty is interacting with our RAG engine, which is just ingesting a document and allowing the LLM to process that information and give you a more usable output based on the context you provided, which is that file. Then we have Idea Assistant, which is a very powerful little model that is a bit more creative than our other models and shares the same large context or memory size as the document interaction. And finally, we have our Vision model. Vision is a way for you to interact with images. It cannot create them, though. One of the best use cases for Vision is to apply or generate alt text to images. So you provide an image to the model, say, hey, generate some alt text for me, and it should give you a very usable output. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and generate an output here with Writing Assistant. So I'm just going to go ahead and click in here, one of our pre-generated ones, and hit submit. You can see we've got a pretty snappy response on this model. And some of the things I want to highlight here once the output has been generated is right here on the bottom of the output. So you can actually edit the output of the AI to suit your needs for further conversation. That includes entirely changing the text, whatever you need to do. You can also save it as a copy. You also have a copy button here to copy the entire body of the output as is, so you can easily paste it into a Word document without having to mess with highlighting things. You also have an information button here that has a lot of things that aren't going to matter or be interesting to the average user. But one thing I do want to point out is the total tokens near the bottom there. I can't move my mouse, and otherwise that would disappear. But the total tokens button or line down there at the bottom gives you an indication as to how far into the AI's context that you've gone into. So right now we're at 290 tokens out of 5,000 available to us. The next
Per session.
and that's per session. That's a really good point, Bill. So every time you start a new chat, you get a fresh 5,000 tokens to interact with. So the next thing I want to talk about is the good response, bad response. This is so that you can give us feedback. Whenever you give us feedback, we're not going to know who created the prompt, but we are going to know what prompt was generated, along with any specified feedback that you can type in here. You can also give us a rating and give us a pre-generated why. The next thing here is continue response. If you felt that the AI stopped in the middle of a thought, go ahead and hit that button. And what that does is it prods the LLM to continue its response if it has more to say. And the final thing, the most powerful in my opinion, is the regenerate button. What that does is it sends your original prompt back through the LLM's neural network and allows you to generate a brand new response. So we're going to hit that button right now. And you'll notice that it is similar, but it will still be slightly different. Use this to iterate through the different outputs that the AI is generating to achieve the best result for you. Do remember, though, any AI output should never be the final product. We want to make sure that we get subject matter experts' eye at the very minimum on these outputs in order to achieve the best results with these models.
That pertains to ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, or our in-house models. They all should be fact-checked, and you are the subject matter experts, especially if it provides references. Go check those references to make sure that they exist and they weren't merely fabricated. There's been numerous instances recently where lawyers have been caught short citing case law that didn't exist. So please, if something looks odd, fact check it.
Absolutely, Bill. Now, the next, near the last thing that I want to show you here in the user interface is going to be up here in the top right corner. If you hit these three dots and hit overview, what that will do is it will give you an overview of the branches in your conversation that you've generated. So here we have the first generated response that I did right there in front of you near the beginning of this demonstration of the UI. And here's the freshly generated version that we're looking at right now. And you can tell that it's been selected by the dotted line kind of animated over here down to this chat. So if I were to submit another message, suddenly, after it finishes generating, boy, it has a lot to say. So now you can see that this branch of the conversation has additional messages. And if you want to switch back, you can use this pane to go back to that original response, and you're back to where you were. You can also use the arrows down here to flip back and forth, bringing you to the bottom of that second output. And I promise the last thing, this is the most powerful part. And this is what Anthony is going to be talking to you guys about here in a minute. This is where you can capture an image right from the webcam attached to your computer, or you can upload a file directly from your computer and be able to interact with any of our models. Now, please keep in mind, if you have a very large and complex document, make sure you use the document interaction model. Okay, so we can go back. We're going to do a bit of a creative exercise here. So kind of to introduce the basics of generative AI, we're going to showcase some of its creative rewriting and rewriting capabilities. So what I want you guys to do inside the TMCC AI server is introduce yourself to the model. For instance, my name is Tanner Sims, and I'm a database administrator here at TMCC. Type that in and hit enter. See what comes back. I'll give you guys a couple minutes to go ahead and do that. A quick tip on that, if you do want to start a new line on your prompt, hold down Shift and then Enter, and that'll start a new line without submitting the prompt. And if I could get a thumbs up to anyone here that's present, once you've got that output done, then we'll know to proceed. Thank you, Conrad. Okay. I think we can proceed. The next thing we're going to do is you're going to go up to the original input that you introduced yourself with, and you're going to hit the pencil icon right underneath it titled Edit. And you're going to put double quotes on each side of your original submission. And then after that, you're going to give yourself or type in one of the following. Rewrite the sentence as if a pirate was introducing his latest recruit to the crew, or rewrite the sentence like a line in a Shakespearean play, or rewrite the sentence to make it sound more exciting and professional for a LinkedIn profile. And from there, I'd like to see perhaps a volunteer to read their output to kind of see what the difference is. Once you're done with that, please, again, give us a thumbs up or raise your hand at in the Zoom session, and we'll know to proceed. All right, Liz.
You're ready?
Let's go
Okay.
ahead with your original output and then the modified one, please.
Yeah, the first was my name is Liz Burkett, and I'm an instructional designer with the Web College at TMCC. And so I had it rewrite as Shakespearean since I was a lit major. Hark, good sirs, I am Elizabeth Burkett, a humble craftswoman of instruction employed by yonder Web College at noble Truckee Meadows Community College.
Thank you very much, Liz. Now, we do this exercise to kind of show everyone just the power of this AI using just a few simple commands, giving it instruction, tone, and audience. Even just a couple of the prompt engineering components that we talked about earlier is really powerful in being able to transform an output. So we're going to go ahead and move on to a slightly more complex topic. This is where the real power of an LLM comes in. And if you feel like it, please go ahead and give these a try while we're moving through these exercises. These aren't exercises, but through these concepts. So the first one I want to talk about is zero-shot prompting, or ask it like you mean it. Zero-shot prompting just means that you're giving the AI a task without showing it any examples. You just tell it what you want it to do in plain English. So it's fast, it's really easy to do, and it doesn't take a whole lot of time or really any thought to get a relatively useful output, provided you're using a lot of our prompt engineering components. So as an example, write something about Paris. You might be intending Paris, Texas. That might be the thing that you have on the brain that you want the AI to speak on. But the AI, because of a lack of context, is going to talk to you all about Paris, France. I mean, obviously, because that would be the more common topic. So a more clear one, perhaps, if we want to switch back to Paris, France, write a 3-sentence travel tip for someone visiting Paris, France for the first time. That would give you a far more useful output than just the very vague prompt that we had before. So this is what's called zero-shot prompting, or asking an AI to do a task without an example. The next one is called one-shot prompting, or show and tell. You give the AI one very clear example of what you want, and then ask it to create something similar in tone, structure, or style. An example of this would be a marketing communication that you find to be your golden standard for your department. You would give the AI that example and have it generate a different output on a different topic or a different subject, depending on what you want. What it does is it lets the AI kind of see the pattern of your writing and get a good grasp of your tone of voice. And it also strengthens the consistency of the tone, format, and the audience awareness that was already original or in that original golden paragraph. Man. It works really well for creative or communication tasks. That is the best way to use this particular technique. And as an example, we went ahead and generated one for you here. We gave it a sample thank you message, and then we gave it some instruction. Now, using a similar tone and structure, write a note to the president's cabinet, thanking them for their ongoing support of the program and highlighting how it benefits students and the broader community. So again, a single strong example helps the AI understand your intent, tone, and structure so your results come out closer to what you imagined. Moving on, this is a very easy jump. Multi-shot prompting. So this is simply zero-shot prompting, but with more than one example. You can provide it 2, 3, 4. I've seen cases where people have provided it 5 different examples to get the AI to pick up the same concepts, the patterns, the voice, and it allows you to kind of treat the LLM as more of a writing partner because you're giving it, hey, this is historically what my writing sounds like, looks like, and the verbs and adjectives that I use, and it'll go ahead and continue using that kind of stuff. Kind of think of it like giving a new team member a few sample announcements or emails so they can kind of understand the organization's voice and expectations for those type of communications. And an example of that, we went ahead and generated 2 sample messages. And then we said, using the same tone, structure, and style, write an invitation to our TMCC fall kickoff event. And then a very key thing that we put in there is, please ask any questions you need before drafting. This is a very powerful command to the AI. Because the AI might ask things like, who's the invitation for? Oh, I didn't even think to put that in as a command to the AI. What date and location should be included? Should the tone be formal, celebratory, etc.? Multiple examples help the AI understand your organization's voice, values, communication rhythm, so its writing feels more like what the golden standard is. Kind of building on that same topic with the ask me any questions you need to know before generating this prompt, you can also use an LLM to help you create a prompt. For instance, acting as a prompt engineering expert, craft a prompt that blank. What we did is craft a prompt that analyzes input text and suggests improvements for the block of text. And you can see the generated output here is incredibly useful and very powerful. And this is just using a couple iterations here. Hopefully you guys can see my mouse moving around here on the screen. This arrow over here, the 3 of 3, even us, the database team here at TMCC who have been spending a lot of time with AI, even we have to iterate through our different inputs to get the best possible output. We did this 3 different versions of this in order to get an output that we were comfortable with presenting to you guys. So again, if you need help writing a prompt, ask for help from the AI. You'd be surprised at how, or the output that you get from that. A couple tips, whenever you're giving an example, place that text in between some kind of common symbol, double quotes, brackets, parentheses, something like that. It kind of helps it understand that that's an example, not an instruction.
Right, the delimiters.
Yep. And again, iteration is key. The more outputs you can generate, I promise you the better final result you're going to end up with. And now we're going to go ahead and turn it over to Anthony Coots, who's going to talk to you about document interaction or RAG.
Right. Yeah, no, that's great. Thank you, Bill and Tanner. I'm really excited what we have here at TMCC. We have great stuff going on. We've had an awesome summit. So just want to add one more thing to everything Bill and Tanner said, and that's RAG. RAG is really great in the sense of we get to keep our internal security by not going outside of the network while having our own models. But there's a downside to it. It's not always the most current trained to date models you'll find maybe with public LLMs like ChatGPT. So one of the best way to bridge those gaps is RAG, retrieval augmented generation. And basically you are adding by augmenting to your own generation. You're bridging that gap between the last time the model was trained and everything you have to know. So why use RAG? Personalized interaction with specific documents, access to precise and contextually relevant information. Those are the documents you upload. You are supplying the context. And reduced inaccuracies by grounding responses in verified documents. So when you're adding a document like your source of truth, that could be department policy or study guides. With our models today, they might not know about the study guides that you are having for your class or the department policies of 2025 or soon 2026 if you don't upload them, because these models were trained a long time ago. Well, maybe not a long time ago, but quite some time ago. So adding those documents to the conversation and asking questions to the documents that you uploaded is going to help you get better answers and just more precise and accurate answers. So enhanced user control over content sources touches on that. How does RAG work? So I did a very surface level discussion about how RAG works within the past couple minutes here, but we have some really great information on our artificial intelligence information hub page. And there's a link to that in the presentation, and we will be sharing the presentation out. And it has plenty of examples and more information specifically about the topic. So we're going to do an introductory RAG exercise with the TMCC AI. Again, that's at https tmccai.tmcc.edu. If you have any questions on how, like, maybe struggling to get access to the AI, please let us know. We're monitoring the chat. What we're going to do is we're going to use a document that's already stored inside the TMCC AI stack. So that way you don't have to upload any of your documents right now if you're not comfortable with that at this moment, but just to demonstrate the process here to you. So I'm gonna just bail out of this here. We're gonna go back over to our web browser, and Tanner has already set me up on the model document interaction. That's going to be super important for anything you decide to do with RAG, because different models have different technical, what's the word I'm looking for? Different capabilities, thank you. So document interaction is going to be your go-to for interacting with your own documents.
And the context size.
And the context size, more technical detail. So we're going to start by going into the chat bar here and putting the pound symbol, and we will type NSHE handbook. Oh, where did it go? There it is. So you will look for this file, the NSHE handbook revision 316.pdf. And I'm going to pull our PowerPoint back up. And what we can do with this handbook document is ask questions about the details inside the handbook. So what was one of the questions we had? What's a policy? That's all right. I think we have it on the next slide. Here we go. So some of the examples we have here, I'm just going to copy and paste this one. It's saying extract the NSHE handbook language on Title IX compliance and grievance handling. First, provide a concise summary of the overall compliance obligations, then outline the grievance policies or process step by step as it is described. Finally, rewrite that process as a student-friendly FAQ with 3 to 4 short questions and answers. For example, what should I do if I need to file a complaint?
So just taking a look at that prompt right there, there's context. There's a one shot, because we get an example of what it is that we're looking for. So, and who's the intended audience? So keep in mind the prompt engineering that Tanner talked about and those key pieces.
Right. All right, so we're going to send that message to the AI. It's going to take a little second to spin up, and it's going to come back with a response based on the document that we wanted to interact with using RAG. And you can see here at the bottom, as it slowly gets pushed away, that it is referencing this NSHE handbook PDF file. And it's going to take just a second here to complete the response. It is very talkative today. Tanner was right on the money. Wow, really.
And we asked to give us 3 to 5.
3 to 5 questions, but this is what you can expect out of quality prompt engineering. See, we have the student-friendly FAQ, we have the grievance processes step by step, and the summary of the overall compliance obligations as thoroughly detailed in your prompt. A prompt is super mission critical when it comes to interacting with AI, as Tanner alluded to. So we can continue with another prompt in this same session. Just a reminder that anytime you switch topics, it is best to start a new prompt for generally better results. But we're going to go ahead and copy this next one here. So this is just an example of what you want to get, or trying to get what you want out of the documents that you upload. So not everything that you might work with as a faculty member is going to be the NSHE handbook, right? It's that study guide or it's that department policy. So when you want to create new material or get new ideas out of the AI, that's why RAG is so important. Okay, so we're going to start a new one. Going to find that sheet handbook, maybe. Someday. Wow. Sheet handbook. Again, it's as simple as putting a pound and sheet handbook to find this document that we have stored locally, but otherwise, if you wanted to interact with your documents, you will select the More button and then upload files. A note to that, there's only certain file types we are accepting at the time. It's PDF, docx, text, MD, Markdown, and ODT files. We've had some performance challenges with CSV, XLSX, or any tabular data, but we are looking for new ways to bring those capabilities to the faculty. So,
And just to expound on what Anthony said, just a little bit more, while you can put a PDF file in here and it will interact very well with it, if that PDF file is heavy on embedded tabular data, this thing is not going to do well with that, because tabular data in a PDF is not, there's no standard for that. So unless you take the time to define how that tabular data is laid out, and that is consistent throughout that document, you're not going to be able to extract the data that you're hoping to find.
yeah, that's a good point. And, as AI continues to evolve at a really rapid pace, I'm sure that eventually more capabilities or better models are to come. So we will always do our best to communicate the changes that are coming down the pipeline for us and in AI in general. And more information about AI can be found at the TMCC Artificial Intelligence Hub. So we're going to submit the second part of the exercise, locate the section in the NSHE handbook describing faculty evaluation procedures, break down required components into a structured list, and the rest to just a very thorough prompt into the document that we are interacting. And that was writing assistant. So,
And it's going to work.
and it's going to work. So, but there is a bit of a play or a balance here. And that lies in the technical details of the different models that we use. Usually document interaction is better. There was a slight slip in my attention to detail for this prompt.
Right. Take a look at the information icon there, because it shows now that we consumed almost 2,900 tokens just in this one prompt of the 5,000 that we have allowed. So luckily, the size of the document and the output fell within the output, which is why this worked.
Right. So lucky me. And then, yeah, so does about exactly what we asked it to based on the prompt that we gave it. And that's why RAG is so important. So we know we're getting a good result with a good prompt based off what is our source of truth, our documents, to bridge that gap between what the model knows and what we base our everyday work on. right? Are those those department policies or study guides? Is there a limit of 5,000 tokens, and what does it mean to exceed that limit? So the limit for 5,000 tokens is you start to have this balance between performance and overall correctness. It's this triangle, and I'm forgetting the legs of the triangle.
Yeah, so the tokens, basically 5,000 tokens is about a token. 5,000 tokens is 750 words, or no, I've got that backwards.
It's about 5,000 words.
5,000 words. So it's almost a one-to-one relationship. And this writing assistant model, because it is a smaller total knowledge base and the resources on our server, it allows us to have 40 concurrent sessions. But in order to support 40 concurrent sessions in a snappy manner, we limited the context size to 5,000 tokens. On the document interaction and the idea assistant, the context is blown out to 25 or 29,000 tokens. But to balance that, we only can support 5 concurrent sessions with that model. But our current use case here at TMCC, people don't experience waiting their turn hardly ever.
Right, so that performance and the hardware that we have, and also just the service, trying to best support how many faculty users we have for the given time. And that's subject to change, but right now, 5,000 because of what all Bill detailed, but yes, to generally service the population we have using the AI infrastructure at TMCC. What will it look like for the user if they see photos?
That's an experience.
These are great questions. Do you want to take this one?
You can tell what it'll do.
So the best word to describe it is hallucination. When you exceed your token limit, it's this moving window of everything you talked about before. It starts to lose that information. So when you do the first 5,000 tokens and you add another 2,000 tokens, you've just removed the first 2,000 tokens from your session, and it starts to figuratively eat itself. And you'll get these responses that are just not intuitive. They're just impractical.
Or gibberish.
Yeah, gibberish. It actually brings me to a really good quote I read from one of the AI books I read recently by Ronald Knussel. And it's all models are wrong, but some are useful. But it really comes down to if the model is being used correctly. So using the documents that you want to use, do you have enough context? Are you still within your context window? Otherwise, you'll start getting some really funny stuff. You're more than welcome to try the models out and go past that 5K context limit. Just be warned that it will get really silly really quickly.
You know, and one more thing while we're talking about context. So that entire NSHE handbook was available for the initial prompt. And then it returned this data set. So this information is now the context that it knows about from that document. So if you ask it something else that is not relevant to this, it's going to say, I'm sorry, I can't answer that question. So like if we asked it, what's the service animal policy at NSHE? Oh,
Maybe not this time. That might still be
okay,
within.
darn it. It was too close to what it pulled in.
Yeah, so it looks like we're just over the token context by 200, but that's not enough to start to get into dangerous territory.
Right. So if you asked it something else, like how much leave can professionals carry year to year?
Okay, well, as of right now, yeah, it's given,
What's our context at?
we are at 2650.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ragged edge. All right.
No, so go ahead.
No, normally you don't get this type of extended interaction with large documents, especially with the smaller operating context provided.
Yeah. Generally, yes, that is the case. Today be the day that it challenges us on that. So. I think this is a good time to start a conclusion. So thank you for being here today. Thank you for attending all of these sessions at the AI Summit. This has been a blast, and I hopefully look forward to interacting with more of you next year. So with that, I leave it to the conclusion for Bill.
Okay, so again, thanks for attending the workshops that have been presented here this week. If your department would like to have a focused training session, we'd be happy to do that. We've done that with other departments. They give us examples of their day-to-day workflow, and then we create a training session focused to that specific workflow. And we can do that for administrative or faculty. Faculty obviously is not where we live, but we're happy to work with any of the faculty experts that would like to put something together.
Absolutely. And if any questions, we have a group email for the AI developers. It's tmccai@tmcc.edu. Please feel free to shoot us any questions, comments, concerns to that email. Thank you very much.